This first story comes from the retail industry. A few weeks ago, a man and their son came in to exchange a PS4 system and the games they were playing for an Xbox One. It is not a huge deal because it occurs frequently. They now have to choose which system to use when we settle the trade. The son for whom this is all intended is now beginning to question whether he truly wants to proceed, so I explained the advantages and disadvantages and let him know that I have some used systems with a 7-day satisfaction guarantee, so he can return or exchange them without any problems. However, they ultimately choose a new system that includes a game. Okay, their decision. They complete the purchase and depart after signing the document stating that they are selling their goods and transferring title to us. Nothing noteworthy as of yet. An hour later, my assistant receives a call from an irate father while I am on my lunch break. Before we can clarify the policy, he hangs up after telling us how much he despises the system and plans to reinstate it. We therefore prepare for impact. He enters, slams the system on the counter, and demands that we return it so that he may return his old system and games. A little information about where we are. We are deemed a pawn store by the regulations of our city, and as such, we must abide by pawn laws, which require that any electronics that are turned in with a serial number be retained for 10 days. Furthermore, we are powerless to change it. They are essentially in limbo. A police report and a confiscation order are required before it may be removed from trade hold. I then explained to angry Dad the pawn rules and the fact that we could not return it because the system had been opened. The rules will be the same at any other big box store. Dad is furious. The law does not matter to me. Simply return the system to me. This is not what I desire. Give your manager a call. There must be something he can do about this. I therefore give my district manager a call and lay out the circumstances. He essentially tells me that there is nothing he can do, and that if he does not agree, he should go and contact the police. When I get off the phone, he is already calling his phone. Dad is furious. I am going to call the police. It is robbery. Me. All right. It saves me a step. If you would not go, my district manager should call them. The thing that makes me giggle about this is that guy used a video gaming console to phone the emergency line, and after he spoke with the dispatcher, he attempted to dispute with them on the line. The dispatcher then instructed them to wait outside and not to talk to us. After hearing all perspectives, the cops arrived. They were really courteous gentlemen. They gave angry Dad the corporate number and his system, which he had left on the counter and which we were unable to return. And the only thing I heard from him was that he wrote a 1-star Google review on our store, raving incoherently about the police not doing anything. In less than an hour, this irate father came to the conclusion that he detested the Xbox. What exactly can you accomplish in an hour? Since most of those games will not play immediately by plugging it in, he will need to spend some time setting it up, inserting a disc, and downloading the game. He already had a PS4, so I am not sure what he would be upset about, but if the reason he dislikes it so much is that you have to download a game before you can play it, that is what many modern consoles do. Perhaps this is the case with modern consoles in general. Perhaps he was irritated because he had heard about the 7-day satisfaction guarantee policy for used systems and assumed that it would also apply to a new system. He banged the Xbox on the counter before the police arrived, so hopefully it is still functional. Tell me what you guys would do in this circumstance and whether or not he is the NDH. If I told my brother that I was aware of his orientation, would I be the NDH? My brother is 17 years old, and I am a straight male 24 years old. Our parents are pretty conservative because we were raised in a very Catholic home. At one point, I was watching Game of Thrones when my dad declared that we would never watch the show again because of a gay scene. Let us fast forward to yesterday, when my brother frequently uses my iPad to complete schoolwork. Naturally, he communicated with his classmates via a messaging app, but he frequently forgets to check off. No huge deal when it is my turn to use it, I simply log out. But I did not intend to view the notification that I saw last night. A kiss and heart emoticons were displayed after the words, "Good night, baby." This came from a man we assumed was simply his closest friend. I am now aware that he may be homosexual, bi, or anything else, and I have no issues with it. I completely understand that I should not out him if he is not ready, and I also appreciate his right to privacy. But with all the recent news regarding teens' mental health, I am worried about what might happen if he kept this to himself. Because of my parents' attitude toward these matters as well. I worry that my brother will never be brave enough or at ease enough to confide in us. All I want him to know is that he has me as an ally and that I will always adore him. Despite being a tight family, we do not talk about emotional matters. We all know I adore you at home, even if I have never told them. Therefore, it would undoubtedly be a significant time for us and he might feel quite uneasy and or dangerous no matter how tactful or informal I tried to talk to him about it. If I informed him that I was aware of his orientation, would I then be the NDH? Being honest about what you know is usually the best course of action in this situation, in my opinion. From the sounds of it, the OP did not intentionally violate his privacy. It appears that he simply forgot to log out, which is why this occurred. However, it is generally preferable to just say that out loud. Just letting you know that this happened, I am aware of it, and I am behind you. Despite the fact that our parents have completely different opinions, this is how I feel about it, and we are free to discuss it or not. Saying that, in my opinion, would convey a lot and emphasize that it is up to him to decide who he wants to inform and that you are not required to notify anyone just because you learned about it in a particular way. After all of that, if he informs his brother that he knows, do you still believe that he is the NDH? And how would you respond in this circumstance? My fiancé gave another girl a ring, and Night Diaries Hub did not want it. Before we started dating, my now fiancé was engaged a few years ago. When they broke up, she returned the ring. I was ecstatic when he proposed a few days ago after we had been dating for a few years. When I questioned him where the ring came from, he stated it was the one he gave to his ex-fiancée because it looked somewhat familiar. I do not want a ring that you bought for someone else, it was not meant for me, I said as soon as I removed it. He became agitated and declared that it did not matter because it was now mine and not hers. There is disagreement among my friends and relatives over my justification as the NDH. I still want a ring that was made for me, not for someone else, but I do not want him to spend another $1,000 on it. Hub for Night Diaries. In this case, the one symbolic ring most likely represents a great deal of meaning and emotion he had for someone else. Therefore, I can see why she is a little alarmed that he is giving her a ring that took so much consideration for someone else. It most likely seems to her like the remnants of his past. If any of you have watched 90 Day Fiancé, you may recall a similar scenario from the show, and the female was not pleased about it either. In that instance, I believe he held on to the ring for more than 10 years before giving it to her. He therefore saw the ring in a completely different light. However, it appears that this relationship ended not too long ago, and now he is proposing to her. In this instance, it seems more crucial for her to have a unique ring than to have a more elaborate one. It sounds like she would be happier with a very simple band that is hers and hers alone, even though the one he is giving her from his ex may be a lot more costly fancy ring. However, please share your thoughts with me. What would you do if someone gave you a ring that was initially intended for someone else, and is it an NDH or not? What did Night Diaries Hub say about letting my 18-year-old son get smashed? I live with my wife and my 18-year-old kid, and I am a 47-year-old man. For the past month or so, my wife has been caring for her ailing mother on a foreign continent. For that period, it has only been my son and I. Because of our tight bond, my kid confides in me about nearly every event in his life. He informed me on Saturday that he would be attending his first ever high school party the following weekend. He had never really drank before, so he was a little anxious, but he knew that this time he would. I am not sure whether this is pertinent, however I live in Canada, where teen drinking is fairly popular yet the legal drinking age is 20 in my province. As a kind of trial run, I asked my son if he wanted to join me for a couple beers while we watched a sporting event that evening. I reasoned that it would end badly if he enters the party knowing nothing about his tolerance and that it would be best for him to learn his limit with me in the comfort of his own house. After a few hours of drinking, I interrupted him at 6 o'clock. Although he has drunk beer before, he has never had more than one at a time. He slept it off and was fine despite being rather sloshed. The following day, we discussed it and decided that 6 was too many for him. He now understands that he should attend the party with less than 6 people. Since it was his first time drinking in a safe setting and I feel much more at ease with him attending a party now, I was really quite happy with the entire thing. But I called my wife to be honest, and she was furious when I told her about it. She believes it was careless and reckless. Hub for Night Diaries. People appear to be somewhat divided on this one. Some individuals believe that it is simply the father training his son to binge, while others have responded with comments along these lines. Indeed, I wish my parents had taken this action. I threw up and blacked out the first time. It appears that the father wanted to keep his son safe by placing him in a secure setting so he could understand what his was. However, it appears that they went beyond that, and I imagine the wife is more upset that he did not tell her about it beforehand. Let me know what you folks think, but perhaps even more so than actually having the son go through all of this. Is it an NDH or not, and if you were the husband or wife in this scenario, how would you respond? Why did Night Diaries Hub inform the mother of this college student that her presence at his interview cost him the job? A short while ago, I was hiring for summer internships as the hiring manager for a tech business. Between his freshman and sophomore years of college, a man in his 20s applied for a summer internship. Due to COVID, the interview was conducted virtually via Zoom. About a minute or two into my introduction, his mother entered, introduced herself, and began discussing her son's work ethic. It struck me as a little odd. I expressed my want to speak with him in a courteous manner. During the interview, she repeatedly entered the camera frame and interrupted her son to answer questions for him because she simply did not get the hint. He seemed to respond well to a few of my technical questions, so I ended the interview somewhat quickly. Before receiving an email from a woman a month later inquiring about her son's application, I assumed that was it. She seems insulted that he had not received a rejection or an acceptance. I found it bothersome. To be honest, I felt sorry for the child. My mother used to do the same things when I was a teenager, but fortunately, she only did it while I was 15 and working at a day camp, not when I was an adult looking for engineering jobs. However, I thought that by denying him the opportunity to apply independently, his mother was ruining this poor kid's chances. I replied to the email by stating that I was not allowed to share an application's information with anybody other than the applicant. Additionally, I requested that HR email the child to apologize, but we are not giving him an offer. Although we often do this, his email of rejection must have been lost in the chaos caused by COVID. In any case, we sent that. His mother called me. She demanded answers after obtaining a forwarded copy of the communication. I informed her that as she was not the applicant, I was unable to comment on the man's performance during the interview. I was ready to offer him some input if he wanted to get in touch with me. Nevertheless, I could argue that her attendance at the interview eliminated him from contention for the job, regardless of how well he performed. Since we were seeking an autonomous and self-motivated individual for the role, it is crucial to see an applicant follow up on their own, speak for themselves, etc. In addition, I gave advice to any hiring manager I have ever encountered in my professional life who witnesses someone other than the candidate responding to interview questions, contacting the candidate on their behalf, etc. Would also place their resume in the "do not hire" pile because, even if the candidate is talented and driven, they must be able to show those qualities on their own. That made her furious with me, and I hung up when she swore at me. How did I respond to this, Night Diaries Hub? Perhaps I ought to have remained silent much earlier. In any case, the mother needed to hear this sometime, and if he hadn't, someone else would have ultimately heard it. By simply explaining why, even though he was a perfect fit for the position, it did not make sense to hire him, he appeared to be saving everyone's time, the time of the 20-year-old man, the time of the mother, and the time of himself. And ideally, if she realizes that, she would stop interfering with his own interviews and allow the 20-year-old to speak for himself, giving him a chance to even land a job. I mean, based on the way he answered the technical questions, it sounds like the guy might have been hired, but the mother stepped in and took away his opportunity before he had a chance. Tell me what you people think, then. What would you do if you were him or the son in this circumstance, and is he the NDH? For my career, Night Diaries hub, I asked my spouse to decline his ideal job. For privacy considerations, I will be quite evasive. I am a 34-year-old woman who provides for our family financially. For a specialized industry, I hold several highly specialized degrees. I earn more than $200,000, and I could eventually reach the $600 million bracket. Most of us have kept our jobs because my company has not been severely impacted by COVID, but we are still subject to stringent requirements. My 37-year-old husband has a wide range of degrees and professional experience. I was supportive when he quit his job just before COVID struck in the hopes of finding a better one in the meantime. After applying to a lot of jobs, he eventually got an interview at Organization X. In practically every manner possible, this is his ideal job. I cannot go into specifics. However, it pays roughly $66,000 annually, which is acceptable unless this position directly jeopardizes my job security. This organization and my company are, at best, antagonistic. Because my industry is so hidden, I would be irreversibly damaged if clients found out that my spouse was employed by a rival company. I would never be able to find employment in the field. I assure you that this is not at all an exaggeration, even though it may sound that way. It would be similar to if he worked for TMZ and I protected celebrities' privacy. Any trust one have in this industry would be destroyed if he were to tap my car or access my work devices in order to further his career. My clientele and the business would not trust my husband to do any of that, even if I did. Even worse, I can only work in this industry because of how specialized my background is. Since we would lose my income if he were hired, I asked him to be removed from consideration for this position. We cannot survive in this city on $65K. Furthermore, he is not required to work for this company. He has access to a wide range of employment due to his background, but I just have this one specialized profession, even though the job market is terrible right now. He was furious and accused me of being egotistical and money-focused. I informed him that although I would support him if he chose to return to school for a more advanced degree or simply remain unemployed for a bit, accepting this job is not feasible. Behind my back, he proceeded with the process and received the offer. He says I was not being supportive and that his work had to come first, so he wants to accept it. I have informed all the appropriate superiors in my organization about my feelings of betrayal. As soon as he received the interview, I informed them because it was preferable than a background check coming from my email. I informed him that he had two options, either take the offer and move out right away, or deny it while I watched him physically. We would start the divorce process after I paid for him to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks. All of my legal bills will be covered by my employer. I feel terrible. I still adore him. It still hurts, but I made a snap decision since it was the best approach to reduce my losses. He described me as cold and heartless. True, I was putting my career ahead of his, but at the moment, it seemed like the only choice. Hub for Night Diaries. The first oddity in the entire affair is that, despite her apparent clarity about what was and was not acceptable, the spouse proceeded behind her back to carry out the process. Because he did this huge, intricate thing behind the scenes of doing whatever he needed to do to have everything ready to do the interview and do all that stuff to get the job, all while hiding it from her, it is likely that she does not trust him, even though some people find it strange that she gave him two options at the end of all this, either physically watch him decline or move out. She seems to be quite honest and forthright about her feelings for him, therefore that is an unusual way to be. Instead of answering her and telling her that is not acceptable or expressing his true feelings, he seems to have made her believe that they were in agreement and chose to do it in secret, which seems like the worst course of action. There are undoubtedly many people who claim that the wife here is only interested in money and that she put her career before her husband, but if she is being truthful about this whole offer, it appears that she gave him a lot of options, allowing him to either be unemployed for a while or return to school to earn another degree. There is a counterargument that this is his dream job, even if it is not like he has his back against the wall. It is difficult to answer without knowing exactly what they are talking about here because of their privacy, but I am not sure why your ideal career could not be somewhere else that is not directly in contradiction to the wife's sole job. The husband has decided his job offer is worth more than her entire career, despite the fact that many people believe the wife has decided her job is more important than her husband. She has repeatedly stressed that if this happens, she will not only lose her current job but also her entire career because no one will trust her because she did not disclose who she was married to and what job they had. This was put quite well by someone. On both sides, they are selecting a career, but one of them is actually losing her entire career as a wife. However, please share your thoughts with me. Given that she effectively gave her husband the choice to either reject his ideal job offer or file for divorce and have him move out, is she the NDH in this case?